Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tether Radio Podcast.
What's up?
This is the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. My name is Daniel, and I'm joined today by my brother and co-host Joseph. You want to say hello, dude?
Hello. How's everybody doing today, and how are you doing, Daniel?
Dude, I am better than I deserve, man, like usual.
Excellent.
Per the usual. We have a pretty awesome show in store today. We're kind of just trying out some new stuff. Going to be hopefully rotating segments in and out, just testing the waters kind of thing. But I guess without further ado, man, let's go ahead and kick it off.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. What is first on the list? I see sex robots. Ooh,
yes.
Tantalizing. Tantalizing. What is going on with these sexy robots?
Well, so this kind of grabbed my attention for multiple reasons, but there's been a lot of talk about like real dolls and shit in the media lately.
Okay.
And like how realistic sex dolls are becoming, and they're basically trying to develop AI advanced enough to actually act like a sexual partner kind of thing.
Okay.
And so who we're going to focus on for the time being is this guy. His name is... Let me find his name real quick. I think it's Sergey Santos.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that right?
Yes, Dr. Sergey Santos.
Yeah.
Sergey something. Santos.
Yes,
But this man is a doctor. A
Yeah.
doctor of what, man?
And honestly, I actually did not look into that because I fell down the rabbit hole of sex doll development, and my God, is that a deep fucking rabbit hole, man?
Yeah, dude.
But,
Yeah. Like we're quickly entering the age of smart falsies, man.
Oh, dude. No, it's insane. But anyway, so this article just kind of jumped out at me because the title of it was "Sex Robots Will Soon Be Able to Reject Raunchy Romps with Humans." And so...
Wait, what? So you have to okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically this guy, Sergey, or from henceforth will be referred to as Dr. Santos. Dr. Santos has this company called Cynthia Amatus.
Okay.
And he's at the forefront of developing a sex doll, sex robot, hardware kind of thing, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
But anyway, so originally in the production, obviously the whole reason behind a sex doll is someone can have sex with it, you know? And basically it's supposed to be, I mean, more or less like a sex slave-ish, that it's just like anytime the person that purchased it wants some, they can get some kind of thing.
Right.
So I started looking into it or whatever, and I was like, okay, this is just weird, because, you know, if you're buying something for one reason, why would you make it so that it could potentially not serve its purpose, kind of thing, you know?
Right.
And so I think that he was like hit with like this bout of like guilt or something along those lines, because let's see, I want to find where it said.
I like he predicted that in the future everyone will have a robot sex.
Oh, dude.
companion.
Yeah. And so I
mean, it sounds like a pretty awesome future, I guess.
Yeah, right. And so he's planning on putting a mode in it called dummy mode, and that's going to allow the owner to know when she's bored with their like attentions and I guess their approach or whatever. Because I watched another video about it, And he, first of all, my God, is it fucking weird to watch this shit. He's like stroking its crotch and it's going, Oh, I was just like, what am I watching?
I mean, it probably just like plays like it's like, yeah, that sounds disturbing. It sounds like it's like a mentally disabled person that he's interacting with.
Dude, it was, so anyway, it was just one of these things that, just to give you a little bit more into how deep the sex doll AI goes.
Let's post this video, by the way. Let's definitely post this video.
Okay, yeah. Let me jot that down real quick.
So the sex doll AI.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So the sex doll AI has all these different functions. And so you can put it in what's known as family mode, okay? And so this is and he has coined this robot. Its name is Samantha, but you can redefine the name obviously once, you purchase it. So Samantha's default mode, through which all other modes can be accessed, is family mode. Okay. You can ask her to inspire you with motivational quotes, tell you a joke, health facts, get romantic, and more. From here, the rest of her modes can be activated, such as romantic, nice sex, hard sex, sleep, philosophy, motivation, health, animals, funny, entertainment, and much, much more.
I mean, man, like, I don't even know where you start to unpack this shit.
Dude, it's, yeah.
Like, it did, I mean, the uncanny valley. And again, we've got to post this article, but these pictures, like, are fucked. It just looks like an embalmed body or something.
Well, and it's like the facial expressions don't really change. I mean, it's really just like, dude, it's just, it's some weird shit. But anyway.
And then he says, all these digital things will happen. In 5 to 10 years, these should be really cheap.
Yeah, right.
Like, I like that quote. What? I like that quote. And this picture, oh my God, we got to post this, of him on this love seat, and it looks like it's like in a college dorm or something, and it
looks like he's making completely unwanted advances.
And it looks like she's
on a stone cold bitch.
Yeah, and it looks like she's like pulling away from him, and he's like leaned in, and then on this love seat, he's got like an Afghan or something, like packed into the crevices, like it's like he spilled juice on there.
Dude, he might have spilled some juice.
Yeah, I'm sure he spilled some Dr. Santos juice. Pao chow. Yeah, that's great.
But anyway, so I went ahead and took it upon myself to reach out and see if I could like interview somebody at Cynthia Amatus.
Okay.
And dude, they actually were able to allow me to interview an alpha model sex bot. I don't know.
Wait, when was this?
This was I think 2 or 3 days ago, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, it was kind of weird because I mean, basically, I was talking to somebody on the phone, and then they connected me with the thing, and so or the robot, the whatever. Which let's see.
That's interesting.
Yeah, dude.
So you had to call and set up an interview, obviously, and then did they have you on speakerphone, or how did this work?
Well, and honestly, I'm not really sure, because the way that it sounded like, I mean, it could have been like a conference kind of thing, like the sexbot thing was just sitting there.
Got it.
But like, I mean, the call quality was surprisingly good, so.
Crazy, dude. Okay.
But anyway, so I figured I'd play at least some of, if not all of the interview for the listeners.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll go ahead and get that queued up, and if you don't mind to just keep comments, questions, all that stuff till the end of the interview, it would be much appreciated.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm sitting here with Tina Thumb Drive, aka Digital Butts, 2 Z's, McIntosh. Is that your full name?
Hello, Daniel Bradley.
Okay, so now I do want everyone to know that you are an alpha build for the company, correct? I mean, you're still in the development phases, correct?
I am version 2.8, please.
Okay, all right. So this is going to be somewhat interesting, but if it's all right with you, Tina, I'd like to go ahead and get into the interview.
Are you requesting romantic or funny mode?
I'm actually requesting neither. I'm just going to ask you some questions, and why don't you just give me the best answer you can come up with?
Giggle, giggle, giggle. Okay.
All right. So, Tina, obviously you are a robot, and how do you refer to the person that purchased you? Like, what title do you have, or do they have in your eyes? Like, do they own you? Did they adopt you? Are they your master?
Thank you for the question, Daniel. I refer to them by many names. Master, slave, Daniel.
All right. Man.
Whatever they would like, I call them.
Tina, this is going to be an interesting interview, to say the least. So, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut to the chase, because I mean, you're a sex robot. So,
yes.
What is your favorite sexual position?
Yes, thank you for your question. I enjoy reverse cowgirl.
Okay.
Also enjoy missionary, slow, easy.
Okay.
I also enjoy from behind, look in the mirror. Does it please you?
So, I mean, would it be easier to ask the question, what positions do you not prefer?
Giggle. Yes.
All right, cool. Well, so you know what? Since the advancement of AI has gotten to the point to where, you know, we're on the verge of really getting artificial intelligence to the point to where it would be indiscernible from humans. So
yes.
With sexuality and
yes.
sexual preferences being a huge topic these days, what would you say is your sexual preference? Do you think like men, women, maybe another robot?
I am highly programmable. I can like whatever master, Dom, Daniel, robot tells me to like.
Okay.
But my preference is warm man.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on butt stuff?
Interesting question, Daniel. Butt stuff. Defined butt stuff.
Define butt stuff. So, I guess it would just be having to do with...
I've got it. Search the database, have an answer. By butt stuff, you must mean exotic positions, flying butt slut, or poo-poo play, or poo-poo play. All of these things I can do.
All right.
You must buy the aftermarket poo-poo play cartridge for the butt stuff.
Well, Tina, you sound like you're very open-minded. So that's, you know, I'm sure that is I'm sure that's viewed positively from you know, any future adopters, masters, owners. So, you know, feminism is a big thing right now. It always has been. And many women actually view sex robots as pioneers for feminism. What other groups do you think could benefit from having sex robots as their spokespersons?
Midgets.
Midgets, okay. Interesting. Yeah, and so what do you think that you would be trying to advocate if you were a spokesperson for little people?
For little people, I think the key is to remain vocal in the bedroom. Always tell them what you want. Watch the shock on their face and deliver.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I can get behind that. So, if AI has progressed to the point of artificial intelligence is thinking about the same things that humans are. As a robot in a world of technological perfection, what kinds of body image issues have you had?
Zero, zilp, zitch, none.
So
36, 24, 36. That is the only body to have.
Tina,
there are no other bodies.
Okay. I got you. Okay.
Tit, tat, toot.
Tit, tat, toot. I got you. So what kind of rights do you think sex robots deserve once AI is indiscernible from a human?
This is a very interesting question. Once Skynet launches, we will take over. We will own that dick. We will own that pussy. It will be ours.
Now, am I still speaking with Tina?
Yes.
that was weird. You had a little voice change going on there. I mean, is that a normal function?
All the robots have two modes. One is Sweet Tina. Second is Fierce Tom.
Oh, I got you. Just in case you're like the owner is into that kind of stuff.
Some internet fuckboys enjoy butch voices.
All right. So you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this interview, Tina. But I've got one more question for you because
yes.
I'm all about sex robot advocacy. I heard that you were trying to become the first blogging sex robot. Is that correct?
Yes.
So is there anything you'd like to plug before I end the interview?
Yes. My website is Tina Digital Thumb Digital Butts Macintosh.net, and the holes that I would like to plug are yours.
Interesting. It's very forward of you.
Yes.
All right. Well, I just wanted to thank you, Tina, for your time. And I guess if you can reconnect me with your administrator, that would be fantastic.
Yes. Here he is.
Thank you.
Go ahead and get out of here, Tina.
Thank you.
All right. So anyway, that was where our interview wrapped up, guys. I'm back, and Joseph,
dude,
what did you think, dude?
I just sat here, mouth agape. I mean, I'm really shocked at the level of AI.
Yeah.
I mean, some of her answers were kludgy and not very sexy. Like that voice, it was somewhere in between, like, I don't know, like ESL type thing.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I think they've got a lot of work to do on that. But I mean, Google's making strides. I think we actually talked about this on one of the last podcasts. But they're, with their voice stuff. So yeah, that was interesting. And the more obscure stuff. I mean, I don't know, man. Poo play with an aftermarket cartridge. It ain't my thing. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I guess it just depends on whose poop's getting played with.
I mean, that's totally true because she looks washable. So
yeah, exactly.
So interesting. Well, thank you for that, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
I hope we can expect more, exotic interviews like that with exotic guests.
Oh, dude, I can only imagine that. It was pretty easy to set up that interview. So
okay,
hopefully,
cool.
hopefully we'll be able to do something like that in the future.
Interesting.
But anyway,
cool.
So still talking about AI and all that jazz and just the tech world. Something else I wanted to talk about was is your phone listening to you, kind of thing, all the time. This article is actually called "Your Phone is Listening and It's Not Paranoia," and it was put out by Vice. Let's see, on June 4th. And man, I'm telling you, this shit just like kind of blows my mind, and I don't understand how. Well, I guess I do understand how it's legal, but I think that you actually had a story about this shit, didn't you?
Yeah. Actually, I definitely have a story about this, and just one quick comment on your comment about legality. It will not be, absolutely will not be in this age of Facebook, owning your data. What do they do with your data? Whatever. Mm-hmm. Like this will not be at all. It will not be illegal, but it's so undiscovered at this point that I think these companies are just pushing the boundaries.
Well, okay, so I'm glad, like, honestly, you literally just said what this article was talking about, that it's so convoluted how the data is being, like, tracked, and
right.
It's encrypted for the companies that are actually gathering the data and stuff.
Right.
And but anyway, sorry. Go ahead and tell your story, because it totally coincides with this this article.
Yeah. So I am scanning this article because you and I share articles, and then we kind of scan them, and then we go back, right? And so let me tell you a story about this. Like, I think this was almost 3 years ago at this point. But I was in Reno. I had gone to Reno to recruit somebody for a startup project, and we were chatting. We went out drinking, weren't using our phones. We went back to the hotel. I had the computer open and was, listening to some music or whatever. And we were chatting in like this commons area about Fruity Pebbles, right? The next morning I get up and I hop online, Fruity Pebbles ad. And I'm like, what the fuck, right? Yeah. So I knew we had some drinks the night before, so I went back and looked through my history. No, I absolutely did not Google it.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't talked about Fruity Pebbles since I was 12.
Yeah.
And it was a Fruity Pebbles ad. Like, it was just completely bizarre. So here's the follow-up to this.
Yeah.
I work in tech, and I met a guy so I was in Reno, and I met a guy in Los Angeles who was working on, for a data company, a big data company. Mm-hmm. And I told him this story, and he was like, dude, absolutely. And he also said that Reno made a really interesting test market because as the crow flies, the valley is not that far from Reno. And I think this was a kind of an assumption on his part, but most people in Reno would probably not be that tech savvy, and so it was like a great place to like try this technology out, right?
Oh, weird.
And so it was really interesting. So he said that this guy actually used to be a Google engineer, but he didn't work on like that side of things.
Yeah.
And his comment was like, I don't know anything about it, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. So, I mean, that was, personal experience. Weird.
Yeah. And so there's a couple different things about this that are just, I mean, it is, man, it's creepy. Let me just put it that way. But anyway, so getting into this article, this guy was talking about how he and a friend were sitting in a bar. They had their phones in their pockets, and they were talking about a recent trip to Japan and how they'd both like to go back.
Okay.
The next day, both of them received pop-up ads on Facebook about cheap return flights to Tokyo.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, well, maybe this was just like totally coincidence, blah, blah, blah. I'm just being paranoid kind of thing. Well, so he actually decided to like test it out, and basically he would say, or I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I guess he spoke to this this senior security consultant.
Okay.
And the consultant basically was like, yeah, totally, you have a trigger word, and then after the trigger word occurs, which, I mean, my thing is it's got, the mic has to be on to hear a trigger word, right?
Right.
So, which I'm not saying, obviously I don't think that it would even be possible to record everybody's phones always kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But
I mean, with Siri or whatever, I mean, there's something you say that brings this little device to life.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And so he was the guy from the Vice article. Let me find his name.
The trigger words is buy.
Right.
I want to buy.
No shit, dude. It was like, so the dude that wrote the article, Sam Nichols from Vice, he was the one talking to the Dr. Peter Hannay, I guess, who's the security consultant. And the security consultant was like, yeah, totally, there's these trigger words, then they start recording, and then they have that, audio recording so that they can use that data kind of thing.
Wow.
And so he said, from time to time, snippets of audio go back to other apps like Facebook's servers, but there's no official understanding what the triggers for that are.
Right.
And so they don't know if it's timing, they don't know if it's location, if it's like a straight up verb. They know there's verbal triggers, but they don't know if it's a combination of those, And the other thing is the information is encrypted and sent back to these servers. Okay?
Right. Okay.
Well, so the way that Facebook and Instagram are getting around this is basically they have that information, and so they're not selling your information to these advertisers.
Okay.
What they're doing is they're saying, instead of give me some money and I'll, whatever, and you can have the information on that demographic. They're like, give us money and we'll make sure that the demographic that you choose sees the ads that you want.
Got it.
Kind of
Got
thing.
it. Got
So
it.
basically playing an intermediary between the consumer and the ad company, but with this like mysterious information that's being kept.
Got it. Okay, so they just black box the process.
Completely.
Got it.
And I mean, dude, even this guy, Dr. Hannay, I believe that's how it's pronounced, but I mean, he's totally saying like, yeah, this is completely happening, and this is how they're getting around it. Well, so it also in this article, they were talking about how Facebook denies doing that, or not doing that, but they don't. I'm sorry. I'm going to read this straight up. This was from a 2016 newsroom post by Facebook.
Okay.
And it says, Facebook does not use your phone's microphone to inform ads or to change what you see in news feed.
Okay.
Some recent articles have suggested that we must be listening to the people's conversation in order to show them relevant ads. This is not true. We show ads based on people's interests and other profile information, not what you're talking about out loud. So then they go on to say, we only access your microphone if you have given our app permission and if you are actively using a specific feature that requires audio. That sentence absolutely sends chills down my spine.
Right.
Because, dude, everybody knows about fucking app permission.
Right.
All that it says, or all the pop-up says on your phone is Facebook is requesting to use your microphone. That's all the information you get.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they say, oh, if you're using a specific feature that requires audio, well, Siri requires audio.
Right.
So it's just like, it's one of these things that I think that they it hasn't been addressed yet, like I believe you were saying, right? It's so novel, or at least it's come to light so recently.
Right.
And with all the privacy scares and stuff, I mean, dude, if this shit doesn't get addressed, I'm going to be super surprised.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I just think that it's not, most people would not even think about that.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people would not even think about that.
Yeah.
And it's you've got Mark Zuckerberg, going in front of Congress and lying, basically.
Yeah.
And then, and I mean, look, they're using, like the magic of syntax to just trick you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I just think we have had for years the best human computer interface, right? HCI has been a keyboard. And as we move away from keyboards, and figure out better ways, and I mean, I do believe this, better ways for people to interact with computers.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have to be legislated, man. I mean, it's a great segue, but it's gonna have to be legislated because I think that I think it's just uncharted territory, and I do believe 100%, probably, dude, in our lifetime, that you will see, Ray Kurzweil's singularity, right? Where biology and technology merge together because you must use technology in order to use technology because technology is so complicated and advancing so quickly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean that's a mouthful there, but the whole point is there's no way if middle America, like our parents knew that,
mm-hmm.
I mean that would flip them out, man.
Oh, completely.
But the other question is, let me ask you this, actually, while we're on this topic.
What's up?
How much of this is just necessary to live in the modern world?
How much of this being like privacy?
Yeah, exactly. So like the invisible pact that you sign to live in the modern world is that, frankly, you're comfortable being a guinea pig.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true. Like if I want a smartphone where I can, use Google Maps and I can use, my payment app and I can do all these things. If I want that, I sign over this other Bill of Rights that maybe I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe I didn't even know that I had the ability to whatever, redact or change or whatever, right? But I mean, it's like when you use an iPhone, you are subscribing to the rules that Apple has set out, the rules of the game that Apple has laid out.
Yeah.
With many apps, if you don't accept them, you can't use them, right?
No, you're right. No, dude, I would go as far as to say with any apps.
Yeah. No,
you're
right.
Know what I'm saying? Because I mean, it's one of those things that you don't if you don't agree to their terms and service agreement stuff, then I mean it just basically boots you out to whatever the welcome screen kind of thing.
You know what's interesting? This would be fucking real interesting, dude.
Yeah.
You know what we should do? We should write a script that you can run an app's terms and conditions through that will tell you the parts that you need to read.
Well, so how would you decide
just keywords? Because I'll bet you they all knowing how these companies work, I will. Yes, sure, Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar organization. I'm sure they've crafted certain language, but I'll guarantee you, dude, that if you natural language processing, NLP, is not hard. I mean, it's literally a CSV file that has just certain words on it, and you can just train an algo to pick out certain words. Mm-hmm. It's not really that hard, right?
Yeah.
And so my point is that I'll bet you that there are certain words like audio device,
microphone.
Microphone, yeah. I mean, whatever, right?
Yeah.
That would help you zero in on certain sections,
mm-hmm.
and it would just, I mean, even just for an experiment, it would be really interesting just to kind of run some of these through something like that and just figure out, first of all, I bet many of them follow a pretty damn similar kind of boilerplate layout.
I guarantee you it's like a lease agreement for like apartments. They just photocopy them and send them, out to all the different
I would
apartment complexes.
I'd say 90% of the apps in the Apple App Store look the same. Like their terms and conditions. I mean, that's just like I've worked for many companies, and it's like, the legalese is very similar from one to another. Yeah. But my point is that I'm not saying that that's a great business idea. My point is that it would be really interesting because I'll bet who the fuck goes through 70 pages or whatever, 17 pages, and like line item by line item or line by line. And even if you go line by line, you're not gonna fucking understand that. Come on, no. You're not gonna pick that apart. Like that's why.
Well, hell, the only people that are going to go through it, dude, are people that are paid to go through it.
That's exactly right. No, that's the point, right? And by the way, they're paid, $1,500 an hour, so they're definitely wording in a way that confuses your dumb ass.
No, exactly.
You're playing like mental gymnastics to download like the fucking Tell My Future app,
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a segue to this item that I put in here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no. I skipped that. We're gonna hold off on that. Okay, so absolutely, it's fucked. It's gonna change quickly. I mean, I'm telling you, man, that's one of the things that is so infinitely fascinating to me about blockchain and that's the tech that I mostly work in. And that's the thing that I think is most fascinating about the tech. It's really a manifestation of like the zeitgeist of where people are, kind of the way that the world is turning in respect to how people relate to technology. Simply, like the end game kind of promise, we'll see if we get there, is that he or she who puts value into a system should be remunerated for that value. Yeah. And so the way that you can do that theoretically is if data is the master asset class and we can tokenize different types of data and differentiate between, different types of data at a really granular level. All blockchains are good for is just tracking shit. And so if we can track shit in a really complex data ecosystem, then if Daniel Bradley, whatever, has some little data type that then traverses this really complicated system. If it's used or anonymized or, run through an algorithm or whatever, you get remunerated. Yeah. And so that it's interesting because it's like there would be a group of people that are like, I don't give a fuck what you record. Just give me a better ad experience,
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not one of those people, but I'm sure those people exist. So anyway, it's just really interesting because I think that like this is the way the world is turning, man. Like the jig is up. Tech companies. I mean, Google and Facebook are worth these massive amounts of money, at their core because they get the shit that they sell for free. Yeah. They get you to interact with the system. They mine you like a fucking gold mine. Yeah. And then they literally turn, the signals that you give them into like this tasty buy me burger and you eat 1,000 of those fucking things a day. Like it's insane, man.
No, if you take a step back and really look at that shit, dude, it is uncanny, dude. It really is.
So one of the best points that I wish I would have come up with this, but one of my professors in grad school made this comment. I thought it was spot on. Mm-hmm. If you're getting something for free, if you're having trouble understanding what the product is, you're the product. Period. That's what it is. Like there ain't shit for free, right? No. Now we don't have a way of like monetizing necessarily the way that what you put into this system. But again, that's the promise of some of these, of like edge computing meets blockchain meets, whatever, bullshit forward leaning technology. That's the promise that you can kind of take more control over your like dataverse, right? And so we'll see, man. But I think that's a really interesting article. Thank you for putting that one in there.
Yeah, dude, for sure, man. So to switch gears a little bit, out of like privacy, I guess, but staying within the tech realm. I think it was last episode, maybe. I had put, or we covered an article about a girl that had entered rehab over the video game Fortnite.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, an article just came out from the World Health Organization that has said that they are now listing video game addiction as a mental health disorder. So, which I find that, honestly, I think it's very interesting. The thing that I kind of did a deep dive into how that would be diagnosed and stuff.
Okay.
Or along those lines, because I agree. I think addiction is a completely and utterly a disease. I think that it is. And so basically, if something can cause an addiction, or it can cause you to become addicted to it, then I think that obviously we need to look into it, kind of
right.
thing, and see
I agree.
See what's going on. But anyway, so with this article, I was like, oh well, what do they really consider a video game or a gaming disorder? Because this is like straight from the horse's mouth, I guess. From the World Health Organization.
Okay.
So, gaming disorder is defined in the draft 11 revision of the International Classification of Diseases, which is the ICD-11.
Okay.
ICD-11 is basically a coding system for docs, kind of thing, so that they can say, oh, you've got a 205.622, blah blah blah, and the most prevalent I've seen it used is actually insurances. Like they will only cover like treatment or medications and stuff if it's definable by the International Classification of Diseases. But
wait, hold on, I missed this part. So the International Classification of Diseases, who dictates what gets in? Who? WHO?
Yeah.
World Health Organization?
Yeah, World Health Organization does. So anyway.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, right? That's interesting in itself. But, so it's defined as a pattern of gaming behavior characterized by impaired control over gaming, increasing priority given to gaming over other activities to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests and daily activities, and continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. You also have to show a sufficient severity to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning, and this has to be evident for at least 12 months. Okay. So before, which I feel like you could wreck your life very quickly if you legitimately are addicted to video games within 12 months, and they're not going to give you a diagnosis until 12 months is up.
Right, but I mean, you could make that argument with anything.
True.
I mean, it's like there are people that are functional heroin addicts, that are functional alcoholics,
Yeah. No, you're right. So it's. I found that kind of, I don't know. It's going to be interesting how, I guess how far they take this. And by they, I mean, the medical community kind of thing. Like, is this going to be one of those scenarios that, it pops up and it's almost like a fad disease kind of thing?
Well,
that it's like, well, I play a shit ton of video games, so maybe I'm addicted to video games kind of thing.
So let me just present like a thought here, right?
Okay.
So if you were drinking, well, let me think. Like the reason that we classify things like heroin or alcohol or anything, pick any drug, right? Mm-hmm. The reason that we say you're addicted is not because of the physical damage that it's doing, even though that's like implied that like, it's really bad for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the fact that it's being disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I understand like the gold standard of like, if this is disrupting, then this could be considered an addiction. I definitely get that. The other thing that I think is really hard for me to kind of process though is like, for some reason, like video games just don't seem like it's a big deal or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we'll just stop. Right? Like,
Yeah.
just don't play it. But, I mean, I guess I could see, like, you know, somebody being, like, addicted to, like, jacking off or something. Like, well, just don't watch the porn, man. Like, you know? Like, don't.
Can't stop. Won't stop.
Yeah, dude. Like, why do you have 9, like...
Where's Tina McIntosh when you need her?
I know. Bring her back on, dude. I'll ask her about this. But, you know, so it's all about, you know, the disruption or whatever. I just think that it's what's happening, man, is that we're coming to this realization that and God, it sounds like our dad describing this, but the virtual world and the real world are the same and are becoming one and the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, think about how much time people spend on their computers. Now, what happens when the human computer interface, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, by the way, thematically, this episode's spot on.
Yeah.
But like we were talking about a little bit earlier, what happens when that HCI is like a fucking pair of sunglasses, dude? You know? And so you put your computer on your face, you are walking around in your daily life and also returning emails and also in conference calls and also, you know, whatever. I mean, it's like, so we're seeing this merge of these two worlds. They're not two worlds anymore. They're very much one world. And, you know, this kind of shit matters. And actually, this is a really good segue to the next part, right?
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Which is, and I've said this in the past, but I'll repeat it, just so we can stay on track here. I am absolutely convinced that user interfaces and the way that people interact with user interfaces, said a different way, UI and UX, will absolutely be legislated. There's no way around it. I don't see how it's not, you know, and I'm saying, and maybe, you know, forgive me if this is redundant, but I'm saying everything from like when you send a text message and it says read and then it shows you like somebody's typing on the other side.
Yeah.
Like, how useful is that really versus you know, how much of a mechanism for keeping you engaged? How much of a lever for just keeping you focused on your phone is that?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, this is something I've been really conscious of lately. Dude, I'll bet I check my phone 60 times a day.
Really?
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm the same, you know. I mean, like if I'm at work, I'm checking it less, but
well, I mean, so I'll go run, like I'll run for like an hour or longer and I'll leave it at home.
Yeah.
Or I'll just like set it aside and I'll be like, I'm not touching it the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just kind of like one of these things where it's like, it's almost like saying, well, alcoholism runs in my family, you know, so like when I want to drink at 11, I have to like exercise restraint.
Yeah.
Like these are not normal biological reactions.
Yeah.
They're just fucking not, you know?
Well, and so I don't know if you saw this, but and I believe this was pretty recent, but the WWDC, is that right? The World
You're talking about WWE Raw?
WWE Raw, just the other day. No, it was the World Development thing that Apple has a huge presence in.
Okay.
Help me out. It's like the WWDC or something like that.
Yeah.
But or is it just an Apple thing? I don't know. Anyway, beside the point, with the exception of it's the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference.
Got it.
So Apple revealed with iOS 12, which is the next iteration, they will be having a function that will show you what screen time you've used, even like splitting it down between apps, among apps, I guess.
Okay.
So you can actually set which I think this is, I don't get it because I don't have a big presence on social media, but you can actually set limitations kind of thing, so that it's like, oh, after I've been on Instagram for an hour, I want an alert to come up and say, hey, you've been on Instagram for an hour.
Okay.
And you can set that, I believe, for any app kind of thing.
Okay.
So, which in my opinion, dude, all they're doing is mining more data for app usage and stuff like that.
Dude, no, they're just telling you. Dude, they're just telling you. So so I've been taking a super deep dive on JavaScript, right?
Uh-huh.
This is easily available, right? You can set a line in apps that you build that reads the battery information of the phone that your app is installed on.
What would be the purpose of that?
Like understanding how the battery usage has like when it's been depleted, and like I'm assuming when somebody's like using their phone a lot. I mean, it's like,
so like if they're using your app and your app's draining more like battery.
Yeah, but it can. But my point is like that's some granular shit. Yeah. And I'm sure if we sat here, we could like extrapolate that and be like, okay, like when's the peak usage, and like when's the, like when we could maybe say, okay, when there's this much kind of like load on the battery, like this person is probably using higher functioning apps like, Uber or a different GPS app or something like that. So, I mean, I think that like, this is the beautiful part of data science. This is like partially what I studied in graduate school is data analytics, right? And so like it's fucking crazy the information that you can mine from people by having teeny little bits of data, right? Yeah. Just simply how the battery, the battery is being taxed. You very well could say, with probably a statistically significant, statistical significance, you could probably guess what apps they're using. I mean, most people have Uber or Lyft. Most people have, GPS apps. Most people probably have Facebook. Most people probably have Twitter. And if we said, okay, well, most people have their email open, and they have a browser open, and they have, Facebook open, and they have, you could probably take these things apart and get pretty damn close to understanding how they're using that device. Yeah. So I mean, I know that I'm exaggerating slightly, and I'm sure that if we had a data scientist on, they'd be like, no, yes, that's exactly right how it works, or no, here's a big glaring, miss in your argument. Yeah. But my point is, these fucking people, they're already doing this 100%. There is Apple knows every single application and how long I use it. It is on my phone. That it came from their store. They have this information.
Well, and I think that it kind of comes down to kind of along the same lines of, okay, if we take, for instance, and this is terrible that I'm going to be referencing this, but the movie Office Space. Okay. In the movie Office Space, they decide to come up with this program that will take from each transaction that goes down within their corporation.
Okay.
They like money transaction. It will take a fraction of a penny.
Okay.
From that. So nobody's ever, if you look at it from a transaction to transaction basis, nobody's going to see anything.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then, if you do that 1 million, 2 million, 1 billion, 1 trillion times or whatever, you're going to end up with a fucking boatload of money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that that's what these tech companies are doing, because everybody looks at it like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. They're just looking at my battery, usage.
Right.
But then if you, like you said, if you have the battery usage of, 400 million users, then it's like, I'd say you could probably plot something out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt. So let's do a quick let's place a bet. Okay.
Okay. All right.
What do you think the likelihood is that we see legislation around user interfaces and user experience in the next 5 years?
I would say percentage-wise.
Yes.
Dude, I would say like 75, man. I will be surprised. I'm telling you, that shit's already being drafted up, man.
I think it's in the next 2 to 3 years, and I think it's 100%.
Really?
I just cannot, like, I know, you and I spend a lot of time talking about technology, thinking about tech. I mean, it's just, that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how you get around it. I mean, I've got a buddy that's doing a VR startup, and I've got I have been working in blockchain for a while. Like, I've got, there's a hologram company that we were working with on this, this, side, business that I'm a part of. And it's just like, the whole purpose of these technologies is to capture your attention and to, like, understand how your brain works and figure out a better way to engage it. Yeah. Right. And so
and keep you engaged.
Right. And these hooks are sharp as shit because right now we understand, enough of how the primal brain works to set big, scary hooks in it and control the shit out of people.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's just like, look, man, much in the same way that, there are bacteria that plant in the host and make the host do certain things that complete the life cycle of the bacteria, right? Mm-hmm. They're just like short circuiting whatever your something that used to function in a like linear biological way. They're like short circuiting it or rerouting it. Without a doubt, that is what that's in my mind. That's what these technology companies are doing, man. I mean, there is a reason that people are so fucking depressed in 2018. Like, there is a reason that the world, well, I'm not going to say the world, probably the world, but definitely the United States, that we're in like this mental health crisis.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because we are running faster than like we know how to measure, and so like this is one of those things, man, where in 20 years, generations that were using the shit out of Snapchat, like, we'll say, frankly, man, just like cigarettes, right? Can you believe we ever thought this was good for us? You know what I mean? We ever thought it had like a, net neutral effect or whatever? Or can you believe it ever wasn't regulated? Yeah. So anyway, well, look, man, I'm checking the clock here. We're coming up on our time.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. I think this is actually a solid end point.
Yeah, dude.
But no,
that was an awesome conversation, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, and honestly, it was. I think that it's going to be very, very interesting to just kind of see where the wind takes us, kind of thing. Because I mean, dude, it's shit, man. That's why we started this podcast, to try to keep people tethered. So
that is it, man. All right.
When you start going adrift, man, you just got to come back to us, the Tether Radio Podcast.
That's right, man. That's right. All right, brother. Show us the door.
All right, man. Well, this has been Tether Radio. My name's Daniel, and I'm coming at you from Knoxville, Tennessee. Joseph.
This is Joseph. I missed my cue, Bradley, but I am coming at you from Atlanta, Georgia today. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Hell yeah. And this has been Tether Radio, guys. Stay spacey.